Time to paint some miniatures.
Alright, here I am. I'm gonna try and get some stuff done. I have my 4 new Frostgrave dudes to paint. And I think I'm gonna start with the Dwarves, because they're gonna be a whole different, their own color scheme than these two guys. These guys are gonna be kind of dark, mysterious, archery, thief, ranger guy. And I haven't made my mind up yet what I'm gonna do with him. But Dwarves, pretty straightforward. Gonna be a lot of flesh tones, which is where I'm going to start. Now, I have a pre-mixed flesh that I use for the other guys, but this isn't the right kind of flesh. This is too, I don't know, it's a lot more see-through, it's a lot more for layering. It's also not dark enough. I want these to have a darker, bronzier skin. So, we're going to mix that from scratch. And we're going to use... We're going to start with just the matte fluid medium. There we go. So we can zoom in just a little bit here. One day I'll afford a proper camera holder to make these all nice and pretty. But until then, you have to put up with my shit camera work. So these are the colours I have available. This salmon is actually kind of cool as a base. So I'm going to start with that. And again, the paints are cheap. But I found when I mix cheap paints into good medium, I end up with a very passable paint. At a very reduced cost. Because I'm a cheapskate. So, that'll do. So, we got like a salmon. So I'm going to add a little bit of brown to that. Maybe some of this terracotta. And I'm making this up like I always do. Because it's art, not science. And I'm making quite a bit of it because I'm going to keep it. It's not a bad bronzed flesh. Let's put a little bit on a model now. I have a spare model here. And again, we're going to be inking this and highlighting it, same as we always do. Alright, so let's start that as a base layer. I like that. It's not well. Yep, that'll be fine. Okay, because we're going to darken it down as well. Let's start with Grog. You know this one's Grog because he's got a grog on his back. Not a bad flesh colour. Whatever I do say so myself. Now he didn't originally have this hammer, he had 2 of these, but he looked too much like, you know those Hulk fists? One of those ones, so I was like, right. So I stole the hand with the hammer from a copy, actually, of the Templar model. Gave him a one-handed hammer to fix the TV with. There's his flesh done. Well, no it isn't. Missed a bit. See? I always miss bits. Take your time. Don't be like me. Alright, this one's Flint. It's hard to see where Flint's hair stops and his face begins, so again, don't worry about overpainting it. Because when we shadow it with brown, the details will become clear. Now I'm lathering this on a bit thick, actually, so kind of watch that. Again, make sure, or try, to get your layers even. Don't pile it on to make them opaque. If you have to, give it a second coat if you really need to. Got to think of a backstory as to why he's a slayer. Well, no I don't, because he wouldn't tell anyone anyway, so... Gotta love the dwarf simplicity. Okay, there's the flesh on the dwarfs. Now, I'm going to save this flesh into a squeezy jar, and I'll be back. Alrighty, so next, what I'm going to do... these guys are almost dry. While they're finished off drying, I am going to... Now, I made a brown wash. Many videos ago. But... it's a little too dark still for what I want to do with these models. I mean, it's nice and translucent, it's a wash, but I don't know, it just seemed a little brutal last time I used it. So I'm going to thin it down with some of this Pro Acryl glaze and wash stuff. It's a medium, but you can see how thin that can be. That's the wonderful thing about having stuff mixed, is you can always mix it more. So there we go, throw that around in that medium. And then add a little bit of water. There's a little test guy. Pop some of this on the sea. So what I'm looking for is that it pulls quite nicely, but doesn't dirty up the main part here too much. Now I can drag it away. So it gives me the tones, but doesn't darken the outside stuff too much. So that's the problem you always have when you're mixing these, or even with the bought ones, to be honest with you, is that they will dirty your model up. So by mixing your own, you can try to avoid this. So let's give it more time here. Right. I'm also going to put it in these beards and stuff. One of the reasons being is this guy is not a slayer. And if I give him red hair, he's going to look like he is. Slow this stuff on, just so we can see details. Now, pop it on the slayer. There we go. Well, my crummy camera work. One more time here. So there's the base stuff. Pull it right down, there we go. So that's the base flesh and some brown on the rest of the details so we can see. Now we're going to figure out what other colors we're going to use. Alrighty, flesh is done and shaded. So the next one I want to kind of block in. So I've decided that he's going to have the grey hair. This one's going to have the typical red-orange. So for the red-orange, mostly that's going to be done with ink. So we're going to have to base this in a yellow, which is a very hard color to do, but that's fine. Let's have a bash at it. Get my hands all over the camera and in the way. There we go. I got one here already. So let's take just the basic yellow. There we go. That's nice and thick, which is good because yellow will go horribly see-through and nasty pretty quick. So take some of our medium and I'm mixing that about 50-50. So that's pretty thick. Might be a little too thick actually. Put some more in. So that's about 1.5 to 1. 1.5 medium to 1 part yellow. At least with this paint. I mean, all paints are different. You're gonna have to, if you don't buy the same paints, obviously you're gonna have different consistencies. So let's try this. See how this goes on. Now I kind of want it nice and opaque, so instead of translucent. And this is probably going to be 2 coats. Ain't gonna lie. Actually, we're going to get away with 1, methinks. Because the ink's going to be going over this. Get it in the camera. There we go, there's this basic yellow. Now, I guess I gotta think about, is there anything else I want yellow while I'm at it? You know what? Yes, I'm gonna do the ropes yellow, just to give us that mid-tone to cover over. Alrighty, so there we go, that's him. Let me get cleaned up for, we'll do the grey. Alright, so the grey I'm going to mix just on this towel, use it as a mini palette. I'm not going to need a ton of this, so put some of this on there. A blob of medium. I'm going to do a bad thing and mix it with my paintbrush, which you shouldn't do. But because I buy the cheap throwaway paintbrushes, this is why I cannot have nice things. Get this guy going. It's going on way too thick. This guy's got a pipe. Here's the thing, you can barely see this, but what it does do is it lets me go over the bits that I just slapped fresh colour over. And it gives it all at least the same tone for when I go in and ink it later. And again, this is all going to get inked and highlighted and all the other good stuff. So, that's their hairs done. Get cleaned up and we'll move on to the next bit. Alrighty, I've decided I'm going to make these orangey next, so just because can't stand looking at that yellow. Now, here's another trick. If you're all old enough and drink beer, keep the tops, because they make really good mini palettes mixing. So, I think for the red wash, or the orange type wash, I'm going to put a very small drop of vermilion. And I'm going to put a small drop, oh shit, not that small of a drop, alright. Pretty big drop. Science. Of yellow. Let's see what that looks like mixed together. Another little drop of yellow, because remember this is going to be transparent and the yellow underneath should shine through. So if we make it too orange, the yellow shining through is going to make it even paler. So we want it a little redder, more red, redder, most red. So I'm going to try this. Now obviously I'm not going to paint it on like that. What we're going to do, glaze and wash medium by Pro Acrylic. Again, I'm not sponsored, this is just stuff that I found works. Although Pro Acrylic's more than welcome to send me a couple of bottles of this stuff. Right, and then we're going to mix that, thin her down. Now I don't want to thin it too much, but I could do with a little bit more. And trust me, you're going to screw this up as much as I do, but it gets better. You kind of, that's how you learn. You learn by, I don't know, it's art. You go by feeling. We were printing shirts to mathematical numbers for companies. Then we'd be weighing the colours to make them exact. Well, we're not. So, all that done, I'm going to put a drop of water in, paintbrush, do what I'm not supposed to, mix it with a paintbrush, can't have nice things. Now, here's the thing, I think, and I could be wrong, but I don't want it too massive runny, because the minute I slap it on, it's going to run down all over everything else I just painted. I want it to be, sticky enough that it stays on the yellow where I put it. But I want it runny enough that that it's translucent, and it runs into the deeper parts. And don't be scared to do more than one coat. So don't force it on like I almost did. You're going to put it, lay it on. Be a bully, push it around. Down in there where it definitely would be darker. And then again, here we go. So I'm going to let that dry and look at it and see what it looks like when it be dry. Alrighty, so it's not totally dry, but what I'm going to do now, I actually quite like it, but I want to try and put some more towards the base. Now that I kind of got a feel for it, just to try and give it that sense of depth at the base of the hair. Now we're probably going to go back and highlight a lot of this too. Alright, that'll do. I have a tendency to overdo things, so just leave it alone. Let's see what it dries like. Come back and pick out the highlights if we need to. Alrighty, so he's all done. I'm going to move on now and try to get his hair right. Now, this is tough. He's going to get highlighted. We know this. The thing I'm worried about is the amount of detail in the model. You can only do so much. I don't know if anybody's run into this before, but you paint a model, highlight it, shade it, highlight it, and suddenly the details just slowly get worse and worse because you're filling in the details with paint. So we've done a ground, and I've done a grey on this. Now I can kind of see the details still, but I'm worried about doing too much to it. So on his grey hair, so we've done him. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the black wash that I made before, about umpteen videos ago. I'm just going to take a little bit of it. I see lots of this for videos. So, so there we go. And then, put a little bit of medium in there. Again, it's the glaze and wash medium, because that's what we're working with. Over 2 drops. There we go. See how that works. Remember I said I can't have nice things because I keep mixing it. I'm still using the same brush. It hasn't died yet, so. Now, I want his hair to be grey, and I'm scared that by putting too dark of a black wash on, it's going to darken it too much, and then I'm going to have to highlight it. So now, and then you'd think, oh, I'll put some more water in, which I'm going to do. Oops. Then we come back to the problem of when I put it on his hair, it's going to go everywhere. All over his skin, it's just going to run all over the model. So I don't know if you can see, what I'm doing is I'm putting it on my finger until I can see it's not running all over the place. And then I'm going to apply it to the model. And again, so it's just enough to come off. And then apply it to the model. Now it still runs, but it's not gushing all over the place. Now, there are some places where you think, well, this ain't going to go anywhere, even if it does run. So then you can put it on, I mean, don't overdo it, but put it on a little thicker. And again, don't be scared to do it twice if you have to. And you can see there is barely any black in this. What's going to happen is the water's going to evaporate. The medium that we put in, the glaze medium, is going to hold what black pigment there is in the folds where it went, is what we're hoping. And that will help with the details. These are all things we hope are going to happen. Sometimes they do. Sometimes we screw them up royally. But effort. Also, here's the other thing. It goes, see, like under, I don't know if you can see on the camera. My eyes are bad, but like under his ear it went and create shadow. So it's kind of nice for it to run a little bit, but you don't want it down here. Here I don't care, I haven't painted. So, in fact, that is maybe a little too weak. So, and then we'll go over it again. You know, don't be scared to build it up. Do a couple of layers. See how that's building up. Especially where you think the shadows will be, like under his moustache, around his lip, down here. I'm going to do this so it kind of black lines where his moustache is. And he says grey, so that's all we're looking for. Play with it. Alright, gonna let that grow, let that dry, let that dry, and see what happens. Next, I'm looking at this guy, and I'm going to do, I don't know, so that there tells me that that's kind of leather, but I don't want to paint him brown and make him kind of eat, so it's going to be dyed leather, and it's going to be green. So, just because that's a Celtic colour and he's got orange hair. So, redhead stepchild gets green trousers. Again, I'm only going to mix a little bit of it, so we're going to do it more beer. So, let's start with, and then we're going to use some medium, not a lot, just enough to improve the paint. And can't have nice things, mix it in with this brush that's about to die. So get as much out of it as I can. So that is, I feel, a little light. So what I'm going to do, take a little tiny piece, drop in some of my black wash. Turn it down just that bit. Maybe add a little bit of blue. Come on, it's not bubbling. Alrighty, let's give this a shot. Again, we're going to ink it and stuff, highlight it, all that good stuff. So it's a base coat. This will do just fine. And I never thought when I woke up this morning I'd be painting a dwarf's butt. But there it is. You know what? I'm going to do his eye patch too, same colour. Yeah, there's definitely going to need a couple of coats on the eye patch. Alrighty, so since I got the colour on the brush, I think I'm going to do the Druidy Apothecary. Base coat. Alrighty, so we got a green, and I also threw some on this dude. Now I want to shadow these down, so I'm going to make a wash. And for the wash, again, we're using these cheap paints. There was 80 of them, so I have a nice selection of colours to choose from. So I'm going to start with this. It's called Viridian. Drink more beer to mix more colours. Blob in there. And then because we're making a wash, we're going to use this medium, the Pro Acryl medium, glaze and wash. Put a nice little dab of that in there. And then we can't have nice things, so I'm going to mix it with this old brush, cheap throwaway brush. That is way too thick, but you know what I should do? Instead of putting big dobs on, I should just fish some out with a paintbrush when I'm only doing small amounts, because I'm wasting quite a bit. So, add a little bit of water. Again, if you had too much water, that's bad. But if you got a good medium, you can get away with it. Slap this on. Now again, make sure you don't put too much on at once, because then you'll start running into the flesh zones. You can push it around. My finger out of the way. One day I'll afford a decent camera. Actually, I might do this strip, that stripe black, the strap on his eye patch. Green, it just blends in too much, so I'm going to do the strap black. So there's that. Alrighty, to the next colour. So bring our boy back. So, to me, this is kind of a detail creep thing that I've always not liked, where they start putting 3 different texture, different thing armbands on them. I mean, yeah, it's nice, but when you come to painting, it's a pain in the butt. Just for tabletop models. I mean, for a display piece, it's a very good idea. But for tabletop, I think they call it detail creep or something. It's, I don't know. And then these things on his shoulder, horns, rope, plate, 3 different bangles. I mean, it could have come across, I don't know. Like I say, it's my own fault. This is what I picked for a tabletop model. So, I'm not going to go at the artist. I love the sculpt, but painting it, when you're painting, you got to think of things like this, table creep. How long do you want to spend painting it? Anyway, move on to the next thing. Alrighty, so next thing we're going to do on this guy is I'm going to do the metallic, just because I can see where I'm at when I've done this. So the metallic is we mixed earlier. I just used a Milo acrylic paint, huge bottle of silver, and then put in some black ink. And this is what we ended up with right here. Okay, that'll do. So, and then this is a very good base metallic. I like it. I mean, maybe you don't. In which case, find one you do like and mix it up. But for in the middle, I like this very much. So, and try and get an even coat. Try not to fill in the details with too much paint, like I'm doing. Do as I say, not as I do. Always take it back off again. Then paint him on the back end, because he's a slayer. He's not going to run away, so you won't see him from the back end. You only see him from the back end, so he looks good. People creeping up behind him. Goblins you have to paint well from the back, because they run away all the time. Alright, so, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to address all these freaking bangles he's wearing. And this, what looks like a plate here. It wasn't a plate, it is now. Nope, get it on camera, you idiot. Now, one of these or two of these are going to get turned to bronze, but at the moment, I'm just getting them covered so I can see what's what. I'm an old man with shaky hands and bad eyes. So, don't expect the best. And I ain't got to do for now. And him, I'm going to finish off camera because there's a lot of details that I'm just going to slow down the video. So I'm going to stay to 1 or 2. There's that. Okay, so I'm going to block in some of this stuff. So I'm going to block in the horns. I got to figure out what this front loincloth color is going to be. Down there, his axe handle, the back of his belt. So I'm going to go here and, I mean, they're all small areas, and I haven't really made my mind up what colors they're going to be, but the horns I figured out I'm going to do like a very dark sort of contrasts. So, let's see, I'm learning, just using a paintbrush to get a little bit out. All people can learn. Alrighty, so, with that done, we've got pretty much everything blocked in. So now it's time to start making it look pretty. Alrighty, so everything's blocked in. I've got some of that Milo acrylic paint metallic set. I got like a pale gold color, which I'm going to use. Mix that with some medium, and then add a little of the black in. Metallics, for some reason, I think, always look better with a little bit of black mixed in. Ooh, I have to expand this. Run out of room. There we go. Alright, let's see what we can do with this. What I want to do with it, well, let's start with one of these armbands. Again, we've still got to ink and wash this, so I know the contours aren't showing up as well, but I'm hoping when I ink it, it'll all come together. Now, the next thing is, he has these gold things in his beard. Now, I can't, well, let's try it. They're probably not going to do well with just putting this goldy stuff on, but, well, maybe. Keep a little bit. We can highlight these to make me bring them out. And in his hair. And again, things that are drawn, the eye is drawn towards, I always try and just make sure I make those just a little bit better than the rest of the model. So there's that. Now let's move on and think about inking him. Alrighty, time to ink it. This is make or break. This is make or break for your model. So it's always nice to have a test one, but they're not always available, especially not in the tone that you have, I found. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start. Okay, let's get a bob here. Right, this is my black wash that I mixed up in previous videos, which is a good medium type black wash. I don't want it that strong though on this one. This one's got light colors, etc., and I don't want to dim them down too much. So I'm going to add some more water to that. I'm using my crappy brush, but you know what? For as cheap as these brushes are, I've been using this one for a while, and it's holding up. So what I'm going to do is I'm coming back to this one. I'm going to add it to him and see how that flows. Now on top of that, I mean, if it does darken it too much, or, well, not lots too much, but if it darkens it more than you'd like, you have the option of going in just more work doing highlights, and each thing you have to do more is another chance of screwing everything up. So I don't know, at least on this one I can live with it. See that grey there is staying pretty light, but it's getting into the shadows and going pretty dark. So on the greys it's staying pretty light, and then the shadows it's getting kind of dark. So let's give it a go. Here we go, make a break time. And we still have highlights to do, so. Remember, this is where the eye is drawn to. You know, it's the face, the hair, all the things that make the Slayer a Slayer. So I'm painting it where the deeper shadows will be, trying to feather it out. Again, you got to be careful where it runs. Alright, I'm gonna let that dry and see what that does. He's mostly dry. I did put a second coat of the black wash on him because I'd rather do two than one that's too dark. Now, you can see that this model is darkened down quite a bit, which is fine, because what we are now going to do is, I've got some flesh. We're now going to go in and we're going to hit highlights on stuff that we want to pop out a little more. So, if we go in, like his nose, front of his forehead, and you gotta be careful because I think I still got some black ink that's wet, but I'm gonna go in to his knuckles. You know, where do you think the light's gonna hit, or you want it to pop out more? Hopes if I use the right flesh color. There we go. Put green on his foot. It's sad. Oh, so next thing I want to dress are those horns on his shoulder. A little bit of white here. We can mix it with some flesh, make it an off-white. Yeah, just bash the highlighty bits. Two. And then we're going to highlight his axe and the brass bits. So, and again, metallics are hard. So a lot of times when I'm finishing off like this, I'll cheat and go to the expensive metallics, which I'm going to do now. There we go. Army painted bright gold. Let's try that. Now we'll just finish it off. And yes, metallics I cheat. I ain't gonna lie. There we go. That defines them a lot better. And from the back where the light will be hitting, and pull out a couple of these studs out. Then, since I'm using this and cheating, let's go in and do his hair, because those got lost in the mix. And there we go. You're still missing stuff though. I'll figure out what it is. It's his face. His face isn't. It's that eye patch. There's something. Gotta do something with that. Let's try this. And then we need. Definitely not that. More shadow under it. what I'm doing now is I've made my wash darker. I'm going in and trying to do kind of like a black lining to help everything pop just a little bit more. Kind of like the old heavy metal stuff. And I don't like that plate. Alright, we'll let that dry. Alrighty, so I picked at him and highlighted a couple of other things off camera, but that's pretty much for the tabletop. He's done. I'm going to base him up because that always makes a huge difference. I'm going to come back and pick at him because there's still stuff on him I don't really like. But for the tabletop, he's good. So, get him done. I'll do some beauty shots at the end when he's based up and with the rest of the gang. And hopefully you like this video. Remember, doing these with, really cheap acrylics. So, but they're coming out. I mean, I like them. And I'm not spending a gazillion dollars getting them painted. So, and also I found that I'm learning. I'm getting to feel a lot better. I can see where my mistakes are. And I'm not, again, it's not to win awards, or I go back and I pick at them in the evening sometimes. So, for example, I can see here where the browser's got on his beard, but I'm not going to stress over that. I'll come back and pick that out one night, along with all the others. So, thank you. Thank you very much for watching.